Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to grab 3 different comments, or at least 3 different topics from 3 different videos, and we're going to do a frequently asked question video. If you're new to my channel, I do this quite regularly, so drop comments on any video and I might just review and comment and respond to your question or query. If that sounds interesting, let's get into it. I noticed that in my recent videos, I've done 3 videos that really have prompted a lot of comments. Are complex airdrops fair? Black Foil CP might be breaking the system. 23 comments, very significant response. Also, second place, should the DAO buy Bitcoin? $7 million fund, long-term play. I think that's an interesting conversation and I'd really like to carry that forward. I want to see what you guys have to say in that. I'm going to actually start there, even though that was the number 2 with number of comments. And number 3 would be frontier mode. Just people generally speaking into frontier mode and being excited about it. There's actually a 9 up here, which also largely is about frontier mode. So I'm going to take that to mean 3 different topics today. We're talking about Black Foil's ruining airdrops, which I can tell you what I got on the first one, as well as what I'm hoping for on the second one. We can also talk about buying Bitcoin in the DAO and frontier generally. Let's get into it. Let's start with the DAO conversation. So on the DAO video, I think they should buy Bitcoin to fund the DAO. The long-term investment will be seriously prolong the game and community, especially when we get more people on board. I think this is true. And that's essentially my argument within the video. It's like a driving factor. If our DAO is filled, or if there's a certain amount of Bitcoin in there, that'll draw us more eyeballs. As we get more people which buy more packs, there'll be more Bitcoin in there because of the mechanism that we proposed, or that's being floated around in the community. And that would lead to more and more and more Bitcoin, which in my opinion, more and more eyeballs. Plus across time, I think Bitcoin is expected to appreciate, at least it is from me, or at least I believe it will. And so that would generally point towards what Crips is saying. Pomp says, nope, the game needs a tradable energy token, that's more important than buying Bitcoin in the DAO. I disagree. Okay, so Smurf says, where's the money to buy Bitcoin coming from? Do you print money from the DAO? I'm going to make this as clear as I can. I see that Tails comments, and I'll read his comment in a moment, but this is as clear as I possibly can make it for those who don't understand the topic. There's $7 million in the DAO. $7 million. Now, most of it is in-game assets for DEC and SPS and game packs, etc. But those are values that could be sold into other tokens such as Bitcoin. Now, you would be selling DEC to a community of people who want DEC, and that should be okay depending on how quickly we exit that position. And I wouldn't even talk about quote fully exiting the DEC position. I'm just saying if we took probably a couple $100,000 and bought a couple Bitcoin, that'd be a great start. That'd be a great start. And we have $7 million in there. So I think that's very attainable across the next, make it 6 months. It could be 6 weeks probably, but make it 6 months just so that it's more or less and less negligible. Because I wouldn't want to say we've got $3 million in DEC, let's just sell it all overnight. That would move the market too quickly. But could we move 3,000, 10,000, 50,000 a week? I think we probably could. I actually don't know the numbers and someone could crunch these, but this is the short of it. Sell those assets to community people who want them, DEC and SPS, etc., and buy Bitcoin. That's it. There's no printing new currencies. It's not some complicated process. The only caveat and challenge and hurdle to this whole conversation would be, would the sell pressure from the token be significant enough to damage the current price point of, for instance, SPS or DEC? That would potentially be negligible, complicated or challenging or frustrating for the the community players that are currently here, right? And so we want to avoid that to the ability that we can. But if there's increased buying pressure when we release packs, for instance, I think that moments like that can be navigated to minimize impact. Okay, now let's see what Tail says. I'd recommend watching my original video on the topic. Yes, do. I referenced that too with respect to because he chatted with the People's Guild, and I referenced that and linked it in the video. The money to buy Bitcoin would come from the DAO proceeds from future Conclave Arcana sell packs. So he's not even talking about selling the DC in the DAO. He's talking about future Conclave sales. The DC that goes to the DAO through those Conclave sales would be put into Bitcoin. And I don't see why we would wait till then. That's my pushback towards Tails. But either way, the same conversation is at hand. You're selling the Bitcoin to buy, sorry, you're selling the DEC to buy Bitcoin. The DEC is coming from pack sales that go half to the DAO and half to the team. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there, and we'll continue on. Online Property Explorer says, a year ago, I would have said yes, absolutely, get Bitcoin, but by now, how about Ethereum? It's more of gains. Okay, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to say, that's interesting too, for sure. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. If anybody knows that, if you know the channel, you know that about me. There's altcoins that I'm sort of heavy in. So I would be about that too. But I actually think from a marketing standpoint, having a foot in the world of Bitcoin is actually more important, more impressive, more convincing, more long-term foundational than Ethereum even. And while I could argue that we could probably go down both roads, I think Bitcoin needs to be the first step in that journey. Okay. And now to address the issue around Bitcoin's appreciation, because you're hinting at that already in the first sentence I've read of yours. You're talking about Bitcoin used to be 60 or whatever, now it's 120. And so maybe it's a bit late in the game to be making that move. That's why dollar cost average is always the play, right? I actually think in 5 years, the prices that we might be seeing Bitcoin at now will probably be low. Having said that, it could be the case. And actually, I am a proponent of the belief that there will be an altcoin market and a Bitcoin, the Bitcoin market cap will probably go down, as well as the Bitcoin, the dominance will definitely go down, in my opinion. All of that is to say that alts are probably poised to really blow up in some ways. And if that is so, maybe it is a bad play to buy Bitcoin today. But I think long-term, dollar cost averaging is just a healthy thing to do with the biggest and most important and most foundational token within the game, within the sphere. And so maybe I'll leave it there. There's actually lots of great conversations in here, but I actually want to talk about 3 different topics. I see Tails was in the chat like a lot. Thanks, pal, for responding to some of these comments and these questions. Again, I'm going to pop back onto a topic number 2 from the comment section. Black foils. Are black foils ruining the conflict airdrop? A lot of people must feel that is so. 95% upvotes on that video, as well as a ton of views, a ton of views and a ton of comments. What does Cold Dad says? I just think card CP should be standardized. This will limit the drama that's going on at the moment. Black foils is what killed it all. So he agrees black foils have been a problem. At the moment, it feels like a cash grab. I think we should change it starting with the current set rather than saying we will change it for the next set. I'm sure those whales are for the good of the game. They will fully understand. Okay, so let's try and unpack what Cold Eyes is saying. So he's agreeing, first of all, that black foils have been a problem in terms of creating they're just so much greater in terms of CP. One common black foil is 25,000 CP, or 24,937. Then if I go to a regular foil version of that, it's 2,100 or something. There's a max one. Max common regular foil, 10 out of 10 level, and the production or the CP is 2,100. So it's 12 times more CP roughly to have a black foil of the Mad Kaboomist than it is to have one of the regular foils. One of the regular foils on the cheaper commons is going for about 20 bucks. The black foils are going for about 120 bucks. And so if you can afford to buy the black foils and you can maybe build out your collection with black foils, you're getting 12 times the CP for 6 times the price. And so some of the people with big, deep pockets are doing that. And that's how they're getting disproportionately, a huge amount of airdrops. Now, is that a problem that they're taking advantage of the opportunity? No. Is it a problem in terms of game design? I think so. And that's what I hinted at in the video. I think unfortunately the black foils had way too much CP for what they were. I think maybe the black foil arcanes could have had something crazy like that. I think the gold foil arcanes should have been number 2 in terms of their collection power. And then the black foils should have been like equivalent to gold foils. Because keep in mind, the black foil is itself a max level card once you get it. So I think a whole new redesign to what these were is in order. And I think that's what the commenter was pointing to. Cold Eyes said, it should happen now though. at the moment it feels like a cash grab. And in some sense I agree. Like if people recognize what I just pointed to, 12x the CP from a black foil and 6x the price, they're going to go out and buy those cheap commons, even if they don't need them, because they want to get the most CP out of their airdrops. They want to get the most airdrops. Sorry, they want to get the most CP on each mage wagon. They want to get the greatest number of airdrops. It is a cash grab. It's gamified tokenomics. Like it's like this game is investing an investment of not just your time, but your attention. And if you can pay attention to sort of gaps and moments like that, you're going to benefit greater than in a disproportionate way over others. And I think that's a good thing. But I actually think with this, we just kind of fumbled and went a little too far with this. And so maybe I won't go too much further down this conversation because I've talked a lot about this topic before. I just really wanted to feature, I see that a lot of people are feeling strongly about it. And I do think that maybe something was missed. And I want to address Coldiz's point. He says you could start changing it back now, like fixing it in some standardized way now on Conclave rather than waiting for the next set. I'm not sure if I love that idea, because here's what I would say to that. And it's not exactly saying he's wrong, but my point would be, I actually like I feel like we should establish rules and then follow those rules. We established rules, in some ways they aren't working out as we had hoped, or maybe as we had imagined. The black foils have too much CP. It's creating sort of certain buying dynamics within the game, and it's creating certain distribution rates of the airdrop card that are confusing to some and frustrating to others. All that said, these are the rules when the game began in terms of this round, this set. It feels, I personally wouldn't be for changing the rules after the game has begun. People make decisions, they act on those decisions. You know, the people who recognize that this is an opportunity as soon as they heard about black foils and bought up the market, you know, I wish that was me. It wasn't really me. I'm slowly getting some now, but I just really feel like we shouldn't change it now. Now, I wouldn't fight if some community member like People's Guild wanted to put forward a proposal to make that happen. I probably would strongly consider it because I want to support the community in this. It's just my thinking that once you start the game, the rules are what they are and you finish that game. The next set could be something entirely different with totally different rules, and maybe that would be entirely fine. In fact, I think it would be. Let's get one more from Ivan. He says, I'm missing Stever's whole point. Because Stever was one of the critics of this black foil thing. And he said, so let's see what Ivan says. It's not black foils versus black foil arcanes. It's the black foil ledge cards are worth more airdrop points than his entire deck. You clearly didn't listen carefully as to why he has low airdrops when more money spent than you. With more money spent than you. He didn't get to go buy black foils cards as you did, bro. That is his whole point. And so it sounds, first of all, sounds like Ivan's feeling really defensive about Stever, but first off, I like Stever. If it's unclear to you, I've talked to him many times. I've met him at the Vegas event, and I consider him a friend. And so if there was any sense that I was like, I don't know, dunking on Stever, or, I mean, clearly that's not where I'm coming from. I'll say though that the conversation, what I choose to feature from a conversation, from content created by Steve, I can't tackle, I think it was like a 3-hour video. And so I can't tackle every point. And I know that he talked about legendaries. And I know that he complained that, you know, it has more than his whole set. He didn't get any legendaries. Therefore, you know, that's very frustrating. Having said all of that, I think one of the most important actual cornerstones to the conversation is whether or not one recognizes what I have pointed to, that commons are affordable, 120 bucks each, and that people can acquire them and make that move. Now, Ivan seems to, maybe there seems to almost to be some resentment that I've pointed towards that as an opportunity for people like myself and Steve to find their way into more airdrops. And I think if I was to try and, you know, hear Steve's voice in that, I bet he would say, I don't want to have to buy the black foils. I just want to feel that my buying of my full deck should, he said that buying a full deck should put me pretty well close to a max airdrop card. In principle, I understand his logic there, but the game changed how black foils release collection points. And that means that if we're only going to give 3,000 copies of these cards, which is what the team has decided, because that would make them equal to, in terms of print rate, as to other legendaries and other airdrops from before, then that's going to mean that some people who have way more CP because they bought commons and they bought rares and they bought all the black foils, they bought the full library of black foils, then you're just out. So no longer, the goalposts were moved. It's no longer a full deck that gets you a pretty much max airdrop card. It's now the person who buys the cheap black foils, who invests, if you want to use that word, in the cheap black foils. And Ivan doesn't like that, I guess. And Steve definitely doesn't like that, because he felt that the goalposts were here, and then he took a kick at it and realized like they've moved them. Some people saw that movement beforehand. Myself, Gathering the Magic, and Gathering doesn't have a huge budget, so he didn't go out and buy these things. But like, there was community members talking before these cards were issued, saying these black foils are going to be crazy. They're going to give insane amounts of airdrops. And we didn't know exactly how the airdrops would work. And Steve said that. He's like, there should have been more clarity from the team. And that would have been helpful, I would argue. But when I started talking about this, I'm like, I think the conclusion had to be drawn that they were either going to, like, let's say, double or triple the print rate of those amazing new airdrop cards because there was so much new CP, or they were going to greatly increase the threshold for getting those airdrops. And I think the team made, like it or lump it, they made the right choice, because if they made a print rate of like 9,000 or 12,000 on these cards that used to have 3,000 print rate, those airdrops would be a lot less valuable. And I just don't know that that's the play. Okay, so that's my opinion, and looks like Ivan disagrees, and I know Steve does too, and they're allowed to disagree. But it seems to me that this was predictable based on how many, the CP that we were hearing, it was going to be on these black foils. I think the error was partly on the team and partly on the community. We should have heard those numbers and said, wait a second, why is the black foil, which is going to be as common as we are hearing it's going to be, the common have 12 times the CP, and the rare, I forget how much it has, and like you said, the legendary's got hundreds of thousands. It's a lot. It's crazy. It was a mistake. It was a mistake on the team, and then it was also a mistake on the community for not sort of holding the team accountable. And probably back to my first point, and despite you arguing that it's not about the arcanes or the black foil arcanes, I think you said that in here, didn't you? Yeah, you're here. You say it's not about the black foil versus black foil arcane. It is, in my opinion. If you said that the black foil arcanes, which are hugely rare, right? There's like one of each of them or something like that. And they had the 25, CP, 25x CP, whatever it is, like the crazy multiplier. But the regular black foil didn't have the crazy multiplier. The issue would go away, Ivan. It wouldn't be nearly the same conversation. And so you're actually wrong in terms of saying that is not the key or crucial point. And this side point about how the legendary has more than the whole deck is actually just, again, a reinforcement of my point. If it was one black foil arcane legendary, which is a 1 of 1 that had that crazy broken CP, it would be perhaps bad, but not nearly like it is. And just to prove my point, let's go over here quickly, just to show you the sort of the distribution rates here. Let's go shop, card packs. We're going to see quickly Conclave Arcana. We're going to come in here to the leaderboard. The commons of the black foil arcanes are listed here. The commons. So there's only going to ever be 20 of the black foil arcane commons and 50 of the gold arcane commons. Those are pretty big, because you times it by 20. I think it was 23 commons. So there's gonna be 20 times 50 is about 1,000 of the Buttercup Maulers. No, sorry, 1,000 of the common gold arcanes across all of the commons from the set, because there's about 23 commons. And then there's going to be 50 per of the gold arcane. And then there's going to be about 400 of the black arcanes for the common. Now, black foils, there's already 100 plus of Buttercup Mauler. And I know that because I have one of them. I have 2 of them. I have 2 of the Buttercup Maulers, black foils. There's 109 at least. I don't know how many there are. I guess I could figure that out probably somehow. My point is, there's over 100 of this one common, and this one common has the same amount of collection power as the black foil arcane, of which there will only ever be 20, or of all the commons, there will only ever be 400. So you're wrong that it's not a conversation about black foil versus black foil arcane. If it was only the BFAs that had the crazy CP, we probably wouldn't have the same problem. Actually, we definitely wouldn't have the same problem. I need to leave it there because I want to grab one more comment from one more video, or one series of comments from one other video. Let's do that. Finally, we talked about Frontier mode. There was 9 comments up here talking about Frontier mode, as well as 6 down here talking about Frontier mode. Let's jump in here first and see what they had to say. Comments. Let's try and grab a couple. Yeah, look, Ivan wants to see more of the content from me covering Frontier mode. I will do that, Ivan. I promise you. I'm excited. I'm playing it every single day. I'm loving it. Can you give me 2000 DCL by some guys from Modern Battle? Snowballs. I find Frontier really hard, and I'm not new to the game. I think it needs tweaking. Yeah, that's true. And there has been some. I agree, because when you're at the bronze level or the entry level, you're going to compete with everybody who has the same cards, and it's kind of hard when you have the exact same cards. I went out personally, and don't take this as advice, it's just my story. I went to the marketplace and I bought level 2 of 2 different summoners. Because you can do that now. You can come in here and you can buy Frontier or Foundations cards, they're called, for the Frontier mode. And I just went in to look at the Archons. Historically, when I used to play Splinterlands early on, my strategy was, I don't care what the best summoner is. I want to buy the cheapest summoners, because this one's $1.70 per BCX. This one's 80 cents. So actually I can buy those 2 summoners for the same price as 1 BCX of this. And you need 5 BCX to go to level 2. And so I did that with Incessant Sage and with Marlai Singariel. I bought level 2, 4 copies of each or 3 copies of each, because I might have had one for my pack openings or my loot chest openings. And so now I have a level 2 Incessant Sage and a level 2 Marlai. And the reason I bring that up is because he's saying it's difficult to win, and I get it, and I agree. And it is a bit of rock, paper, scissors when you have the exact same cards. But if you can distinguish yourself with a few key pickups, and you have to decide if that's worth it. But I wanted to win more in there. I want to get more of those packs and daily rewards. And by the way, there's some pretty cool rewards coming soon to Foundations as we look forward to the Frontier entries. These entries are going to produce pretty cool prizes. Like, look at this. I don't want to turn this into an argument around that, but like, there's going to be some black foil, some gold arcanes, and some black foil arcanes that are going to be handed out just because of these Frontier entries that you earn through your daily participation in your loot chests. And so I'm excited, and therefore I spent maybe $10 on Frontier cards, and I got a couple key monsters as well. All that to say, that has distinguished me, got me up to bronze. I was in bronze 1 earlier today, and I think I'm probably gonna be able to fight into silver next season, or maybe even this season. It's made the game. It's given me sort of 2 sort of pitches I go to, thinking of like MLB metaphors. I've got my fastball and I've got my changeup, and like that's a lot. That's enough for me. I don't need to have every single pitch. I don't need to have every single skill, but those skills help me win a lot more. And maybe that would be something you might want to consider. Frontier is an oxymoron. It's really hard because it's too easy. Limited card set doesn't give enough many options. That's interesting. I think that's actually a wise comment, because it is tricky because you have too few options. And lack of agency for you as the player means that you can't distinguish yourself very easily against your opponents. Interesting. Splinterlands is dead according to Parham, but he's still here commenting. And let's scoot over to our other video where we had 9 other comments. Frontier. Look at Part-Time Economist is back. He says, I agree 100% with the sentiment on Frontier mode. It reminds me of the version of Splinterlands I fell in love with in the 2020 era. Let's go. I love that comment. It's nice to be able to play the game on a level playing field without spending thousands of dollars on a deck. Don't get me wrong, Splinterlands is a company and I recognize that they need to sell cards to keep operating. However, playing in another format can be cost prohibitive. I agree. For new players, yes. Like, just, there's not even, he's right. That's not even, there's nothing to argue. He's just right. And I love the game, but he's right. I feel Frontier mode is the perfect mode for new or budget players. It lets us be part of the community, enjoy the game, and tell others about the game. Let's go. I love that comment. Thank you. Sorry, I Smurf maybe doesn't agree. I'm not sure if he's talking about Part-Time Economist or maybe me with the video, but either way, apparently doesn't like Frontier mode. Let's get one more comment. I love that. Thank you, Part-Time Economist. Guys, check out his channel. Crypto Beaver jumped in. To answer your question, no, you don't need to buy a spell book to earn or buy tradable, sellable cards in Frontier mode. However, since the most recent game update a week ago, cards earned directly from the campaign mode from the date of the update are soul-bound and cannot be traded or sold. This was done to prevent extractors from farming in the campaign mode and flooding the market with cheap cards. A good move by Splinterlands. Yes and amen. And let's see one more comment. Frontier mode reminds me of Splinterlands when I got started 4 years ago. Back to basics and a lot of fun. A big improvement for new players, learning through campaign and then battling other players in Frontier. Hope some of the recent changes open the door to getting the game in Apple Store. I think that's more, the Apple Store conversation is more an issue of like how Apple responds to in-game crypto, games with in-game cryptocurrency assets. Regardless, love the positivity. Yeah, Frontier mode's awesome. I'm playing it every day. I love it. This is where I'm playing the game now. I have a high level deck. I let it play in wild because I don't have all the time in the world, but then I go and I make sure I'm in here every day. Even while I'm on vacation, I'm enjoying this game. Now, I will echo some of what was said. The complexity of my submissions can feel sometimes limited because I have lack of card assets and therefore I have lack of player agency. I have fewer choices to draw upon and therefore, it's a bit of rock, paper, scissors sometimes. With no armor, I'm not going to play Incessant Sage. With target snipe, I feel like I have to probably go Marley or Thalgrimor. Even though my Thalgrimor is level 1, he's still got some great assets on that team. Let's try Marley with 50 mana. Now I probably will do Taunt just to keep give my guys a little, another split second of life. And then we go like this. And then maybe we get out. What else we do? Sick. I got to try and snipe. Let's put up him to give myself more snipe protection. Let's see how that goes. This could work. Let's watch it out. And I'll end it here. They just delete my taunt. They got the opportunity to go and work on my back line. And my magic is putting in work too, which is great. And I think I'm done though, right? I'm not going to make, even though I'm making some key crucial kills, it's too little too late. And he had a lot of damage output and great speed. Fun, love it. And when you do win, you're getting pretty cool rewards. They don't necessarily have a huge ton of value, but I'll show you one last thing. I said I was done, but I'm going to show you. I pulled a legendary yesterday. I pulled the legendary archer. Where does he go? On the green team. I pulled a Giam root yesterday and $7, $8 value. If I wanted to sell that into the marketplace right now. That's cool. I love it. Splinterlands is amazing. It's still rewarding me for my time and attention. And actually I saw one more comment out there. I won't pull it up, but it said something like, this doesn't represent rewards because I've lost too much value on the rest of my deck or my investment in SPS or whatever. And that's nonsense because the question isn't, has your US dollar valuation gone up? The question is, are you receiving rewards, things that you like to have for your time and attention? And Giam root is a reward. And it has a US dollar valuation. And if you handle those values well and wisely, navigating the game within the game, which is the peer-to-peer marketplace, there's going to be ways where you're gonna grow your investment with just a thoughtful mind and time and attention. Okay, have an amazing day, guys. I hope you are enjoying the game like I am. God bless you. Bye for now.